Yeah, sorry I didn't make it earlier. I just couldn't get in. We're at the caravan. Our Wi-Fi is a bit limited, and sometimes it won't let me in. But I managed to get in this time, so I'm there now. Sorry, sorry I'm late. I haven't got a list of all those who said they couldn't make it. So I'm sorry I can't do that. Yeah. Can you see Gillian?
Morning, Gillian.
Hiya.
Hi.
Get well soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the dog on her lap. Liam's here.
Liam, say
Yeah, I
hi.
can see Liam. Yeah. All right,
Say
Liam.
hello, Liam.
Right. A film that I thought, Sophie, I don't know if he's seen it, is Empire of the Sun. Have you seen it, Sophie?
No, he hasn't seen it, but yeah, it could probably be. That's the sort of thing that we've got. I've got Amazon access, so and that's I know that's on there, so I could download that and.
I think you'd enjoy that, Sophie, because it's all about a little boy in the camp, and I think he's about Liam's age.
He is.
Yeah.
It goes from age of 9 till 11, I think, right? About that period.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes when I've watched other films, he has actually caught bits of it, but instead of it hasn't really, he's asked actually quite intelligent questions about things. So, I don't think I think children are much more resilient than you think, and they're a lot more curious. And when we went up to see my dad's grave last month, he actually asked a lot of questions, and there was quite a lot of plants growing up through it, and he actually started tidying it up, and he said, "Oh, we must tidy it up," Mummy said. So I think he does. Is isn't it, Liam? It's something that you're interested in, and I think he's very proud of his granddad, aren't you? Even though he sadly never knew him. So, huh? Isn't that right, Liam? You proud of your granddad? And it's important, isn't it, that we remember?
He's gone quiet.
Yeah, he's gone quiet. Yeah, he's got stage fright. Anyway.
Right, Matt, do you want to carry on, or do you want me to take the meeting?
Ronnie, it's all about you, so you carry on while you can. If you have to brush off and beat Gillian up, we'll understand.
Yeah. I'll push her out in a wheelchair.
Can I just come in with a suggestion then? Because Ronnie, if you're going to sort of disappear on us and you guide us through these meetings, which is much appreciated, then maybe we could come up with a topic for each meeting that maybe would be of interest, particularly to Liam, to learn about. And we could do it sort of a date-related thing, like this weekend is the anniversary of what I've always referred to as the crush, which you can help me with. It's something I've chosen as a topic for a meeting we've got on Tuesday. It's the Selarang Square incident.
Yeah.
And that obviously is there. So I don't know if it's too much for Liam to interpret this, but if we had a topic where we can all join in, maybe say if our fathers were there, that sort of thing, it would give us a direction. And maybe for October, if we do this perhaps monthly, it could be the 10th of the 10th. We could do something like that. I don't know what you feel, but it gives us a basis, a structure.
Idea.
Yeah. Sorry
that
to
is a good
push
idea.
in.
I mean, to start off with the incident, the Selarang incident, my dad wasn't there because he was already up Thailand.
My dad was in Saigon.
So I don't know much about it, nor would you, Barbara, because all we can see about it is what we read. But a lot of dads, of course, were there. Yes, so that's a good idea. I think the main thing is, can members email me what they think we should be doing, and then I can add it to the invite. Because at the moment, I just casually add things to the invite, which really I'd like the members to take part and tell me what they want, and then we can do more about it. So yeah, I'm open to people sending me things, and then I can add them. Kevin,
Yeah.
we don't talk much about Sumatra and Java because a lot of our dads weren't there, but I know your dad was. But today I had a look at. I did put a thing on Facebook about it because people keep asking me about internees, and the internees. I mean, I don't know much about, but I did find that I have got 2 large files on roles of the internees, which I did put on our hard drive, the members' hard drive quite a while ago. But I did find them, and I thought, well, yeah, maybe, although I'm doing the British FEPOWs, we could do the internees. And the internees did have a lot in Sumatra and Java. So there are camps for internees there, which I think would be interesting. And I was hoping Steve was going to be here today because he said he'd give us a hand. And I was going to ask him if he'd like to do that, do the internees. So we have the British FEPOWs and British internees on the website so people can look up. I think that would be a decent idea. We really want to get over to Sumatra. I know we haven't. I mean, I think Kevin is the only one who attend the meetings on Sumatra. So we've got to open it a bit to make it. Yeah. So, Kevin, would you like to, for the next meeting, would you like to put something together on Sumatra that'll open it up a bit so we can talk about it?
Yeah, sure, no problem. No problem.
Yeah, I think we want to. I mean, I did the Java index about 12 years. That went on and on. I ended up with over 33,000 names in it, and information as well, what happened to them and everything. But I'm not going to do that with the British FEPOWs. I mean, I don't know if I've got 12 years left, but that would be interesting to open it up a bit. Java's a big, I didn't just include the British. I got Australians in there and everyone, so it's not just the Java index is really mixed. Right. So Kevin, can we think about that and
no
come up with some stuff, particularly the railway, because we had a chap a few years back, Eddie, on the FEPOW community, and he used to get really upset when people talked about the Death Railway and the Thailand Burma Railway, or just calling it the railway, because his dad was actually on the Sumatra Railway, and so he said we're tending to forget them. So I don't think we should. I think we should open it up and talk about them. Okay, Kevin?
No problem. Yes.
So I'll leave that to you, because you know more about it than I do, the Sumatra side.
I'm gonna anyway, Ronnie, if you want to put it onto the email to the members, ask them if there's anything they want to know, any questions type of thing, something that they might want to try and find out, and we could use that as a basis as well.
Yeah. So should I ask the Facebook members, the open ones, not just the charity ones, the open ones, if they have any questions, and maybe if you kind of take that one, if you take the, talk about it and take that meeting, if I've got the questions, I can either email you them, or if I can make the meeting, I can tell you the questions at the meeting. But that'd be best really if I gave them to you before, so you could have a look at them.
Yeah.
Or you can see them on Facebook if people
That's it.
like them on Facebook.
Yeah, that's ideal.
Yeah. So I'll leave that to you for the next meeting, which will be, I think we ought to do a Sunday and a Saturday meeting. Is that okay with everyone?
Anytime, Sunday or Sunday.
Yeah, so the next meeting will be, let me just have a look at the calendar.
6th of October.
Well, no, the Saturday one in September. Should we make that the 21st?
21st.
Yeah.
That's the day before my birthday, Ron.
Oh, well, we'll all have the candles out and we'll have a drink as well.
I think I'm about 19 then, aren't I?
Yeah.
I just think you're getting on for at least 19.
Yeah, we don't want to really burn your house down with too many candles burning. Right. So we'll do that for the next meeting on the 21st. If we don't get many questions on Facebook, maybe we can open it up, Kevin, and I can send you something that I'd like to know about the railway. The railway is kind of the important thing in Sumatra. I know the camps are important, but that was the main thing. Like the Thailand-Burma railway is this side. You know, it's the same type of thing with Sumatra.
Yes.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
It is a strange.
Yeah. So I'll
I'll do that. I'll do that, Ronnie. As I said, it's basically all the men were spread across Sumatra. There was a few who were actually captured and stayed on the railways. Some of them were captured and actually were transferred to the Thai-Burma railway, and then there was some transferred from Java onto the Sumatran railway. So it was a bit strange how it all came about, you know. So yes,
I'll leave that to you, Kevin. So you've got more authority on that than I have. So I'll leave that to you to do. Okay.
Right, no problem.
Right. How's Sophie getting on with your lists, Sophie?
Hello.
How's it going?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, fine.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
I managed to do a bit on holiday, but not as much perhaps as I'd hoped, despite our remote location and the copious amounts of rain. So I've got probably about halfway through the second ship, but some of the pages on there, because I printed them all out because I find it easier then just to put them on a document reader thing. Some of them are extraordinarily bad quality. Some of the pages appear to have been copied or scanned, so you can't read the corners, things like that. So there's just no way that you can do anything about that, because it's just where maybe the page has got bent or something, but I do notice that somebody, thank God, somebody has actually gone through at some point and actually tried to put in pencil corrections to some of them. But again, what I do, just to make sure that we've got it right, instead of just blindly assuming it is right. If there's a clear service number or something, I'm actually typing that into things like Find My Pass to actually confirm that is correct, because sometimes I've done that and actually it's not correct. So either that record is incorrect or Find My Past is incorrect, and given their assumed standard of transcriptions, I'm not sure which it is. So some of them, I'm trying to check in as many ways as possible, because I just think about it. Well, if it was me researching my relative, I think I kind of owe them a service to, I would be doing them a disservice if I didn't check it, because I would want to think that somebody checked mine.
Yeah,
and so I could find them.
I came. Yeah,
So I'm taking
I
care,
yeah,
I think. So
yeah. I came across one because I'm now started on run 2, and I'm doing the A's. Not as I'm not doing them as much per day as I was the original, the run 1, but run 2, I'm about 3/4 of the way through. I've got about 500 more to do for the A's. And I came across one. He was Corps of Military Police on his Japanese index card. And then when I looked up his death, because he died, so I looked up his death in the Commonwealth War Graves, and he's Surrey's. And then I thought, well, yeah, because they had to get the Corps of Police from somewhere, military police, so they took them from different regiments and put them under the Corps of Military Police, but they were still the original regiments. So I got there in the end, but I didn't know what to do, so I put two into the roll. So there's one on the same chap but he's got 2 separate service numbers, but is the same chap. So he was Corps of Military Police and also East Surrey's, which is a bit confusing, but
It happens
yeah,
a few times,
yeah,
quite a few times. He's caught me out, and I've gone, I can't. This doesn't make sense. You can't have 2 service numbers, but some did
no,
because they were kept on the original roll of the battalion, and they were given a completely new sort of like role in the Corps of Military Police. But that number stayed consistent, and you can't. Well, 2 people, but they both got the same date of birth, they both got the same name, and it doesn't make. But I think because, I mean, records are only as good as they're kept. And of course, I suppose the original Italian, oh, we've lost him, he's been transferred, we might come back, so we'll just keep him going. And I suppose they stay on the roll of that particular regiment, and they also stay on the other role. It does cause confusion.
yeah. There are a few like it. I mean, there's I've came across quite a few, particularly now I'm in run 2, so I'm adding more information. So I'm adding the deaths and where they're buried. It is very confusing. But at least they're there, so that's up to people to sort it out themselves, really. I can't do no more than that, just add them. So if I can, if Steve is watching this, I'll get in touch with Steve about, I'd like to do the civilian internees, so maybe we can come together on that, and I can send you all the files and you can add them to, I'll start a spreadsheet so you'll see how I want to add into the website, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, so I think we'll go along those lines. We'll definitely add the interns.
I think is that okay with everyone? Respect, Ronnie, we have to do the civilian internees at some point because we don't, people forget a lot of the civilian internees were the married partners of and the children of serving officers who had also been captured, especially on the Singapore side. And also in Malaya, where the tea planters and the families and all that sort of thing, rubber planters, their families all interned, but the husbands all interned as well, but separately in the military ones. Yeah. So, you can't just say, so-and-so was captured. What happened to his wife? They're not mentioned. So you need to say, that people can actually research, well, that was my grandfather. Where's my grandmother go? She just disappeared. But then if you put them together and go, all right, well, the civilian ones, she's there and he's there. And so on and so forth.
The first family I came across when I started just writing a few out so they can see, like I did with you, Sophie, so you can see how that would be easier for me to put into a web page. The first ones were FEPOW Family, Aaron, A-A-R-O-N, Aaron. I think that's how I spelled it. And there's 5 of them. The first 3 are between 18 and 21. So, of course, they're the children's, Miss, and the son. And then the second 2 are the mother and father. So there's 5 in the family, which are all internees at the same camp. So this takes you back to the old Tenko, doesn't it? On television. Did you all watch Tenko on television?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant
The original
series. Yeah, the original one. Brilliant series. I mean, that was. But you got the characters, didn't you? And reading through the list, you can imagine them in the camp together. But then there's some horrible ones, where a lot of them died in the camps, of course. So, so there isn't all, the family in the camps together, because when they start dying, that's a bit awkward. Anyway, get on to Bernard. Come on, Bernard. We haven't heard from you for a long time.
I'm listening to you say what you were saying. I had a job to follow that. You mentioned about the police. What were the police involved in when you were talking about this man? Did you say that
the corps
they captured him?
Well, yeah, he was a POW. The corps of military police, of course, were, when they were active out of the camps, they were a police service, weren't they, in the army?
Yeah,
So
they were RMPs.
Yeah,
Red
so
Caps.
they looked after them. Yeah, so they looked after everything and kept things all. Yeah, but of course they went into the camps, didn't they?
Yeah, they weren't attached to any camp. They were a unit of their own.
Yeah, they were just an ordinary POW when they went in the camps. But this one I was talking about, Bernard, he actually he must have started off in these Surreys, and then they selected the police from the different regiments. So when he came out of these Surreys to go into the Corps of Military Police, they gave him a new service number, and he was then Corps of Military Police and not East Surreys. So I've now got 2 index cards, one with Corps of Military Police and one for East Surreys, but they're the same man, and they're different service numbers as well, which is a bit strange. But there you go. See,
having served in the forces myself, I find it all a bit strange what you're saying, because we were issued with an army number, and wherever you were transferred to, that army number went with you. Yeah. And we didn't have any police of our own in our regiments. I mean, we were governed by the Red Caps. I mean, they ruled us with fear. We only had to see a Red Cap come in, and we'd shaken our boots, sort of thing. It's, I didn't know of any. I didn't know of any police that we had in our regiment.
Yeah, they weren't actually in a regiment, but
no.
at the beginning they were. So they didn't go into the forces as Corps of Military Police.
No.
They went into the forces through a regiment, and then they were taken out of that regiment to become Corps of Military Police, but then they were attached to a division. So they weren't attached then to a regiment. They were attached to a division.
We never had that. They were totally separate to our unit.
Yeah, but that was after the war.
Oh yes, after the war. Yeah. I mean, it was only 10 years. It was only 10 years after the war that I was in.
But that's like your dad. He was a Remy, wasn't he? He was
But
Remy.
he became a Remy. He became a Remy.
But they were ordnance, weren't they?
Yeah.
Before, they only changed to Remy's after 1941, I think it was. Before that, they were, but they're ordnance. So they were Army ordnance.
That's right.
And then they went to Remy. So
yeah, but I don't understand how you say you got one man with two Army numbers, because usually that number, it goes with you, and you don't do anything or have anything without that number. I mean, I remember my number as fresh as it is today.
Yeah.
Because we used it so much.
But that's what threw me, Bernard, because the ones I've found up till now kept the same number, but this chap didn't. For some reason, they gave him another number, which was very strange.
Well, that is strange.
But anyway, but he is the same chap, because I've checked. And if you have a look at his Japanese index card, he's got a number. And then you look at, he died, so you look at the Commonwealth War graves, and they've given him a separate number.
Yeah.
But it is the same chap because he died on that same day.
Yeah.
In that location. So that is definitely the same chap.
I would have found it very hard to have one number and then be given another one and remember the two. I mean, we remember the one because that is the number that we were known as. We weren't known as, I wasn't known as Bernard Stogden. I was known by my last three numbers, 501, you know.
Or Bernard, or you were known as a pain in the neck.
I was a fusilier. No.
Oh, yeah,
that
so
number,
that was strange. Yeah.
That number was burnt in my brain, and I never forgot it to this day.
You didn't have it tattooed anywhere, did you, Bernard?
Oh, everywhere, all over me.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
On what we've talked about in the past, I mean, you were actually on guard duty, weren't you, with the Germans, Bernard?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I guarded Hess in Spandau prison in Berlin. And you know, I can see him to this day. Saw him walking around this bit of a forecourt they had, and they were given a piece of land in to grow things in. And I can see him now walking around. But we were warned because we used to get marched around the inner perimeter when we were changing guard. And you'd come to the sentry box, which was up on the wall, and you would go up a set of steel steps inside, open the trap door, and there'd be the old guard. He would be still there, and for that 2 seconds, there was two of us there. And then once he came down and they closed the door, you were locked up there. Until the 2 hours had gone, you know, and if you were caught short, you just had it.
Did he talk at all, or was it just German?
We weren't allowed to talk to him, and we were even told that we weren't to look at him. But I did look at him, and what they told us was, don't look at him because he'll report you. You know, but I never actually went into the prison. I was in the outer perimeter, then inside the walls, and we used to start off with, say, 6 or 8 of us men going around, and then you drop off 2 or 1, you know. until in the end you were all distributed into the different sentry boxes then. And I can remember seeing him, and we'd be up there in that sentry box, and you'd have your rifle, and you'd have your 2 bandoliers of ammunition across your chest, and then we'd have a Bren gun, and we'd have 2 boxes of ammunition for that. But when you think of it, one man couldn't operate a Bren gun. It had to be 2. So how would you manage?
Yeah.
It had to be
you could ask Hess to give you a hand.
Yeah. A Bren gun always had 2 men. One that used to fire it, and then when the ammunition was used up, the other man handed the new cartridge, and he'd put it on, and then you want to change the gas elements or things on the side, because they used to get blocked up. So you needed one to fire it and one to pass you all these things.
Yeah, you see, that's interesting, because Dad was on the Bren gun.
Was he?
Dad was a Bren gunner, for 18th Division HQ. He was Royal Norfolk's, but then again he kept his number, but he was put into HQ, and so he was in HQ as their Bren gunner. But he never told me how it worked. So now I know. Now you've told me everything.
Always 2 men. Always 2 men. Yeah. But only one man firing.
Yeah. One other thing. Actually, he did give me, and I think I've still got them. They used to have practice, of course, and they used to have the targets. And he actually kept one of his targets with all the bullets going through the middle. And so he gave it to me. But one of his things was, can't remember his cousin's name now. When Dad left the Royal Norfolks, his cousin took all of the Bren gunner as Bren gunner for, he was in A Company, and he was killed in the fighting before they surrendered. And that was one of his things. He said, if I was still on the Bren gun, that would have been me. But there you go. Right, Barbara.
Right. Well, I'd like to go back to the internees, because I'd like to get Liam interested. Liam, I don't know if you've done this at school yet, but it's very much in the news at the moment about the start of the war and the 80th anniversary. And they've talked a lot about the evacuees that were sent away from their families. And that's something that the children there seem to study at school. And I've always found it quite sad that the Japanese side of the war isn't mentioned when they educate children about World War II. And we've got a chance now to get this done. So the internees are a way, I think, of getting our young children around Liam's age inspired with learning about what happened to our FEPOWs, because there were the internees and many of them were around Liam's age. And it would be interesting to know how Liam would have felt if, to earn his meal for the day, which would be just a tiny portion of rice, as I learnt from talking to an internee once at a co-FEPO gathering, that she had to sew at least 2 shirts, make shirts for the Japanese before she got anything to eat. So Liam, if you're listening to me, Mommy's going to tell you you've got to make 2 shirts before you get any rice to eat for your dinner. Yeah. How would you feel about that, Liam?
Come in here and if Mummy said that you sewed 2 shirts for Daddy, let's say, before you could have any dinner and you'd only get a bit of rice, how would you feel? Would you be upset?
No. He'd be on the phone to social services.
Oh, bless him. But I think it's the way that I think it's a way that we can inspire our children when they go to school and they start to be taught about the evacuees leaving home, that perhaps Liam can say, well, children in the Far East who are prisoners of the Japanese had to work for their meal, even if it was just a small portion of rice with perhaps some watery cabbage soup and a cup of very weak tea. And that was often their provisions for the day. And these children can do us and our fathers the honour of getting some recognition for them to move forward. Because I think our children would appreciate, being able to learn about it and building up then, because what happened to our men is too horrific to teach to the children. But they will understand about the internees, and hopefully Liam could be our ambassador in his own school to do that for us. I don't know what age they teach the evacuee story. But if we're going to do the
British evacuees, certainly that's the trouble, and they only have a small section, during the war, children were evacuated to villages and farms, but they're only really the British. I don't think it's ever been mentioned that all the ones that were in the East Indies and in India and Brazil and everything.
Yeah, but it's a way that my own feeling is that how beautiful.
Flowers from my husband.
Flowers, Sophie.
Have some flowers.
Welcome surprise.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. What is the occasion, Sophie?
I don't know. I'll have to find out in a bit. I'm just trying to get back on my good bits. I don't know. So yeah, probably. On the topic of what they teach at school, I don't really, obviously the curriculums now that they have is sort of things that, when I was sort of going to school when I didn't start going to school into the late 70s, to the 80s, into the 90s, but a lot of the stuff they teach them now, I don't really seem to bear any resemblance to the way I was taught or the topics that we were taught about. They seem to be very much controlled. I could certainly try and find out from his teacher, who's also called Liam apparently. So what their topics are. They tend to have a sort of term topic, and then they do all kinds of sort of homework and stuff on that. But I could send in a note perhaps to just say, I know you probably have to stick to what you're told to stick to by the local authority, which is probably ultimately controlled by the government, I suspect, and their policies and curriculum. But it could be something that that they could do. I mean, I know I've seen sort of examples of other schools, perhaps from secondary schools. I think you said, Barbara, didn't you, that they'd reconstructed a dentist chair?
The dental chair for the Art of Captivity exhibition.
Yeah, and I saw a lady on one of the Facebook sites that her class had done a blanket, I think, like a or something like that. So I suppose, like anything, unless you ask the question, you don't know. So I could just say, could you maybe consider doing this?
Next year, Sophie, with the build up to VJ 75, VE 75 will fall within the school term. Unfortunately, VJ Day will be outside of the school term. So it would be nice, that schools also remember that before they go back in September, that big occasion will have happened, and also the signing of the surrender on the 2nd of September, that will have happened. And it would be so awful for schools just to celebrate VE 75 and miss out on what to us is the big day, the VJ 75. I noticed, I don't know if you saw her, Kevin, when we were at the FEPOW AGM, one of the internees was there. She was the one who sort of inspired me to learn more, because when I went on one of their weekends some time ago, and I organised a gathering of us there and met this lady and her sister. and I learnt so much about the life of an internee then. Plus, Elizabeth Van Kampen, who wrote a book on her story with Cess Lowry. I'm in touch with her still, and I learnt so much about their life, and what happened to her. She obviously was the daughter of a rubber plantation manager who he died at the hands of the Kempeitai in 1945, and she never had a body or anything to mourn for her father. It's a part of history which we've got to remember. Not I feel. And then Patrick Toosey, the one day when I don't know where it was, but I'd spoken about the FEPOW and the internees, and then he came up and tapped me on the shoulder and he said, "Well, Barbara, what you're saying is right and very good, but can you remember the Ramusha?" And I said, I don't know who the Ramusha were. And that's when I found out about their awful experiences. And at the end of the war, obviously, they were just left to their own thing. They didn't have anybody to bring them back. It was bad enough for the internees who were deserted, but the Ramusha had a really rough time. And I actually spoke to Patrick again the other weekend at the NMA. And after I'd spoken to him and he was saying again about the Ramusha, I noticed that on the big stone memorial to the FEPOWs at the NMA, it's FEPOW and internees. It doesn't mention the Ramusha on the co-FEPOW monument. So I'm going to have a go at him about that, see if we can get the Ramusha mentioned on there.
If you have a look, Barbara, if you have a look at when I got together 2006 with the FEPOW community, we started off FEPOW Day, but we also included, if you have a look at the card, it includes the internees and the Ramusha.
Yeah, which is what we must do.
Everyone.
Yeah. And then they're
everyone, and that is actually on the card for FEPOW Day. And you go back to Elizabeth. Elizabeth was a member of the FEPOW community.
Yeah.
And we got together about 20 years ago, a long time before Sex Book, and her story is in Far Eastern Heroes. I put it together.
Yeah.
I was Sek wrote the book, and I said to him, "You realise I've already done the story, because I did it a long time before Sek wrote the book, and all the pictures he used in the book are actually on the pages. So if you have a look in Far Eastern Heroes, her story is in there."
Yeah, she sent me that story years and years ago, actually, and then the book came out with second. I can't say too much.
But I that is still on there, so it is in Far Eastern Heroes. So if anyone wants to read Elizabeth's story, that is in there. Anyway, another thing I was thinking of, we mentioned the internees and we mentioned the youngsters within the internees, and amongst the files I've got on the ships home, I have got those who went home from the Philippines, all the civilians. So I have got the civilians and which ships they were on from the Philippines. And so they can be included within the internees pages. So we can include which ship they went home on. Mainly went to America because, of course, the Americans went into the Philippines. I think that was about February, wasn't it, Matt? They went in the Philippines. The Americans, they won back the Philippines. I think that was about February 45.
About... I think now I'm doing it.
February or March.
At the 9th of February, I think.
Yeah.
February or March. I think the first repatriation ship left from the Philippines to go to Singapore, and then from Singapore onwards. Some went direct to America and Canada, but some came back to the UK, and I think the children, this is anybody with children or children without anybody under the age of, I think it was 14, were sent to America and Canada or Australia first.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to bring skeletal children back.
I think when you go to February 45, Singapore was still in Japanese hands. So most of the internees from the Manila and the Philippines went to America. They didn't, of course, go anywhere else because the Japanese still held it. So they went to America and then home from there. So the ships are American ships mostly, although there are some British ships involved. But that has got the full lists. That's got the full list of what ship they were on.
Some went to America and some went to Australia. But a bit later on, the Australian ships didn't go when they were repatriated from Australia to England. But they also, because a lot of them had families who'd been on different camps, and if they'd been captured in Singapore or anything, they went from Australia back to Singapore after it fallen, obviously, to be reunited with their families rather than be taken to England and brought back to Singapore that way. It's all very. I'm not sick. I'm not really. That's not my area of expertise. It's just bits I've picked up doing it. But it's
the internees are the internees are a bit something we get so involved in the FEPOWs. We don't tend to get too involved in the internees. But I was thinking about this when I was going through the list and I was looking at it. What about if a baby was born as they surrendered? So a baby was born. All they knew was the camps. So when they came out of the camps, they didn't know outside life, did they? Very weird.
Why they were taken to Australia and America to be
very weird.
And psychologically reset before they could join society again. I mean, the trouble is, we think on service numbers, the internees, a lot of them just get lost. As soon as the war ends, you lose. You've only got the information that the Japanese held on to that period, and a lot just disappear for years. You find it difficult to find them. They've been sent back to repatriated to Australia or Canada or England or America or Singapore in many cases, and they disappear then. There's no continuation. So you have it's difficult, really.
Many of them, though, Matt. Many of it, and the same with the army and the services. They actually didn't come home, did they? Many of them made their home where they went. I mean, it's the same as the Ramusha. We were talking about them earlier. It's horrible because the Japanese promised them independence, which many of the countries did get after the war through bloody fighting. They did actually get independence, Malaya and Borneo, and you look at where they got their independence and the fighting that went on. But the Japanese promised them independence to come and work for us, and you'd get independence. And the Japanese they didn't care about them. All they wanted them for was the labour. So if cholera hit a camp, which John Coast in his book actually describes a camp he went through, and they were just left to die because the Japanese didn't give them any medical assistance. And in the end, we did send some medical into their camps, but they didn't have no medical assistance, and they didn't have any discipline like the army would have had. So they didn't build toilets. So cholera was in the camps was quite right. I mean, you had to be careful. Let's put it bluntly, you had to be careful where you walked because they didn't have no toilets. Horrible, really horrible. That's one good thing about the army and the services of RAF, Army, Navy, everyone. They did have discipline, so the commanding officers could organise what was happening. So they did have help, but the Ramusha didn't.
They didn't.
Horrible.
And honestly, to be honest, after the end of the war, when the Japanese had been defeated and everything, people like the Ramusha and everybody else, it was just basically, hey, you're free, bye. And that was it.
Yeah.
Nothing was done. Well, I mean, Britain couldn't do much because we were bankrupt in a sense. So the Australians and the Americans who did the bulk of sort of like trying to help people, we were just desperately trying to cling on to what bits of empire we got left and failing badly. So it didn't help. I don't think we helped anybody really, to be honest.
Well, when I was putting the ships on, particularly Sophie, I was putting the ships on, and America called it Operation Magic Carpet. Yeah. And I thought, do I use that? No, because that would upset a lot of British who actually did the ships. British ships did bring a load home, like the Madav's bottom and the Chitral. So I couldn't use Operation Magic Carpet. But what a name to give it! Brilliant name. Operation Magic Carpet, using the ships to get the troops home and internees. Brilliant name. I mean, the Americans are good at that. They come up with some brilliant name. We just say repatriation, but theirs was Operation Magic Carpet. Anyway, that's 11 o'clock now. If you want to carry on, I'll leave it to you, but I'm going to finish here. Sorry I couldn't make it early. I just couldn't get in. But I think we've been through everyone, haven't we? Liam? Is Liam there? No, Liam isn't there.
He's disappeared to see his dad, because he's back from work. So he's just disappeared to see him.
Yeah.
So I'm afraid. And I feel bad because everybody rallied round for him. So
don't. I mean, at that age, to sit there for an hour is a bit, So join in when he can. We appreciate that. I mean, we don't expect him to sit there for an hour, but it's nice to see him.
Stop his pay, Ron. Ron, stop his pay. Or give him half pay. Half pay.
Yeah.
Chocolate rations.
4 shirts. 4 shirts, Bern.
4 shirts, yeah.
You've got to have 4 shirts.
He is interested. I will say that he is interested.
Yeah.
And he does ask actually quite a for his age. He asks questions. You think, wow, that sort of perhaps shows that he does understand more than you think. And I suppose
you ought to be proud. But be proud, Sophie, because you get it from your parents. So his interest comes from
that innocence of children. That he asks questions that I suppose adults sort of get it drummed out of them over their lifetime. I don't know. That makes you think as well. Do you think, well, what is the answer to that? Because it's like, why? And you're thinking, well, actually, why? I don't really know why. Because he'll say, Mummy, why did the Japanese do this? Why did Dad do, Granddad do that? And I'm like, well, actually makes you think, why?
You were talking earlier, Sophie. You were talking earlier, Sophie, about the syllabus. Our syllabus at school after the war was our headmaster was in the war, of course. He wasn't a Japanese POW, but he was in the war. And I can always remember his khaki handkerchiefs. He always used to have khaki handkerchiefs for some reason or other. Mm-hmm. And anyway, he used to.
We would have shooted them, Ron. We would have shooted them.
Yeah, he used to sit us down in the hall.
Everything was khaki, even your underpants.
Everything was khaki. Yeah.
You never
But
knew
when I
who you were having back from the laundry.
yeah, when I yeah when I yeah when I joined the Scouts, Cubs and Scouts, everything was khaki because my dad used to go down to the British shops. They used to have British shops with ex-army gear, didn't
Yeah,
he? And he used to go and get all
yeah,
my gear from the ex-army gear. So
yeah.
all my camping gear was khaki. Everything was khaki.
Uh,
But we were talking about syllabus, and he used to sit us down in the hall, and used to play us all of Churchill's speeches on old 78 records. So we used to just hear Churchill's speeches. And let's face it, Churchill was a good speaker. I love listening to a good speaker. And we talk about, Hitler and what he did, but you listen to Hitler's speeches. You don't have to understand German. He was a good speaker. He really did rally people behind him, the same as Churchill did. I love a good speaker. I'm not necessarily saying.
I suppose, Ronnie, in a sense,
Go on, Matt.
my schooling was the same. My maths teacher was a wing commander. What was his name? Wing commander. But he'd fought in the Battle of Britain, and now he'd been in the desert flying mosquitoes, I think, and anything else. Our headmaster had been in Malaya, and one of our geography teachers had been an internee, and how I got an education, I don't know, because he just goes, sir, tell us about flying the planes, and he'd be like, off. And he got Kennedy.
Yeah.
So what was it like in Malaya during the war? And he'd be off. And we had lessons that nothing at all to do with maths or history or geography. And
but I think we were in that era, weren't we, Matt? Yeah, we were in that era, weren't we, Matt? Where our teachers mainly were ex-servicemen. Because
I was sort of in a military school, which is where most of the pupils were children of servicemen, and all the teachers are ex-servicemen, and we have military sort of standby. I mean, by the age of 11, I could strip a Bren gun, I could strip a CO3. They were important things to learn. They really were. And they all went into the different military services afterwards, the RAF or the Marines or the Army. But, we were taught by ex-military military things.
Yeah. The discipline in the schools was military. Yeah. So we were in that era, weren't we? Where the teachers were, of course, military, so the discipline became military. Yeah. So
the teaching was different,
and they weren't afraid of clipping you around the ear.
Oh no, or whatever. But it also didn't teach you. I think they taught you from themselves. They taught you from their own experiences.
Yeah.
I didn't know about Malaya. I knew nothing about it because my dad never mentioned it or anything. I know he'd been called up to fight again in Malaya, but then this is realised with a hole in his leg, his stone definitely got broken and worked right again. But they taught you. I learned more about the war and the First World War. Cheeseburger, that was his name.
See, but that's what we're missing now with the children, because we learnt about it at an early age because our teachers were there. But now the teachers now weren't there.
Still living in a post-war destroyed. I mean, bomb sites in Birmingham are all over the place. My grandfather lost his tyre business up in Aston. That was bombed out. My other grandfather worked at making guns in West Bromwich, in the tunnels, factories, and he fought in the First World War.
Yeah.
So it goes on. But
see,
I'm going to say, Ronnie,
yeah.
Good to see you. I'm going to have to go.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So
nice
we'll end it. We'll
Sophie?
end the meeting now, Matt. We'll end
Roger.
the meeting now because we're all. That's 11:10. It's a good meeting. So and I'm glad I made it. We'll wait for Kevin next time to talk about Sumatra and Java, so we get a little bit over there. And
I think we can have a subject per meeting. It doesn't have to be long.
It's a good idea.
Say one person can start it off by saying, on this, talk about a particular thing, but let people know beforehand so they can also get their questions ready or research. If we could do that on this ongoing thing, with Liam there, we don't have to go into grisly details.
No.
But we can start to. I know the education syllabus doesn't include, doesn't really. It starts after the Second World War these days. It glosses over World War II, World War One, a little bit more information there. The Boer War. What's the Boer War? What was we on that? FEPOW? We don't teach them anymore. When I was a kid, we had to learn from year dot. Who was a king in 45? Whatever, but you had to learn it all by rote. Battles, rock strip, all that, the big battles in the First World War, battle in the Second World War. And then you come to the 50s and it's, let's don't talk about war, let's forget it. So, and I think that's what's happened. We have people say things like, well, we've not had a war since World War II. We've been in wars every year since World War II, or some fighting, or something, some sort of description.
We're still fighting,
Some wars, especially in Burma, still going on.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm going to go.
Yeah. We're all going to go now, and it's been a good meeting. Thank you, Matt and Barbara, for taking on at the beginning. I'm glad I made it because it's been interesting, particularly as we know the next meeting will be Bernard's birthday. And we can also
the next
day. Well, everyone, thanks a lot for making it, and I'll see you on. I did say the 21st. So the 21st of September, and what I'll do is, you can do it, Kevin. You can put it on Facebook, on the big Facebook, the public Facebook one, the one we do. We'll be talking about Burma, about Sumatra and Java. Has anyone got any questions which they'd like to put to the meeting? And then we can. And most likely I can take the video out and put it on so they can see it all. Yeah?
Right, yeah. No problem.
Yeah. Right. Cheerio, everyone, and thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, and see you again later.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.